Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday, June 18th. This is session 3 of 4 of the I Am God reflections, contemplations, and wisdom and revelations from mystical consciousness. The call is being recorded to go on our SLC Troy website, YouTube, actually in Martha Creek's YouTube site. So you're welcome to listen there to it after a few days here, and invite others to it that may be benefited by it. Anybody else that has suffered just enough or is open to a shift in their own perspective or way of thinking. So at any time, if you want to share and not be recorded, just ask me and I'll stop the recording so that you can do that without any concern about any of that. Reverend Ron gave me some of his highlights from the book as he finished it. And I want to open tonight with one of his reflections that he's gone back to, which is from chapter 3. And the first of the poems in chapter 3 in the printed book, it's page 48. And again, you don't have to have the book. And even if you have the book, use it or refer to it or read along or just receive it. And as a reminder, we're listening from a different place than hopefully from our linear mind in this. The title of this one is Healing. Healing. As we set the arena here, we do so intentionally, absolutely willing for healing. Like a deep healing, a deeper healing than we've known. Emotional, spiritual, psychological, spiritual, all realms, all dimensions. You'll get a sense of that as your own openness to a new experience of healing. In the world of spirit, healing is not curing or fixing. Healing. In the world of spirit, healing is not curing or fixing. Healing, it is restoring our divine nature. Healing, restoring our divine nature. However we may appear to others, maimed, broken, dismembered, or unimportant, in I am God consciousness, we are purely sacred and incredibly beautiful. However we may appear to others, maimed, broken, dismembered, or unimportant, in I am God consciousness, we are sacred and incredibly beautiful. In I am God consciousness, no judgment, no comparisons, no shame, no judgment, no comparisons, no shame. No judgments, no comparisons, no shame. In I am God consciousness, joy in becoming the substance and consciousness of God in the unification of heaven and earth. The unification of heaven and earth in becoming the substance and consciousness of God. No judgments, no comparisons, no shame. And I am God consciousness, sacred. I am sacred, you are sacred, we are sacred, and incredibly beautiful. Regardless of how we appear to others. And I am God consciousness. I am sacred and incredibly beautiful. Let's take a few minutes and repeat that silently and aloud to yourself. And I am God consciousness. I am sacred and incredibly beautiful. And I am God consciousness. I am sacred and incredibly beautiful. And the I am consciousness. I am sacred. Regardless of how others see me. And get a sense in your body, an embodiment of this, these words as you said it, repeated it, felt it, and what it would be like to live your life from this realization, to literally be free of comparisons and shame, what that would be like. And to be free from literally shifted out of the reference of ourselves as any way broken or unimportant. If we no longer saw ourselves that way. What would you do differently? How would you be different in life? Without shame, judgment, self-hate, comparison. Anybody want to speak to this? How did you experience the poem, the words, the mysticism of it, speaking it, feeling it? Anybody? Pam? Will you unmute your phone, honey?
They're very, very powerful, but both of them. But to say the words and realize that your deepest want is to be able to have no judgments, no compare, and no shame. And then to feel it in the time you allotted to experience that was really powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome, honey. Say it again, Pam, and change the you, your expression of the word you, to I. Like it's my deepest desire. Ever how you said that? It's my deepest want. It's my.
It is my absolute deepest desire to acknowledge what I want. No shame, comparisons, and no judgments. I claim it. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you also, honey. Ron?
When I read this, I think about Jesus telling us to live the kingdom of God here on earth, to bring the kingdom of God into our earthly experience. And this is what they're talking about here, of living from that place.
I think so too. And it's, it's hopeful. And I mean, even like other scriptures, and if the Bible isn't your reference or whatever, like pick your own tradition, whatever tradition has told us that it's closer than our hands and our feet. Like it's doable. So in the direction we go. Amen. Cassandra?
In this consciousness, I would be celebrating more often. 24/7 celebration in whatever ways, become as a little child again. They're the ones that know how to play and forgive quickly and remember the other side, that there's always that connection. So yeah, celebration time, 24/7.
Yeah, that's one of my takeaways from last Tuesday too, because the last invitation from that poem was rejoin the celebration. Rejoin the celebration. And whatever it is, in a sunrise, a sunset, a bird song, a flower blooming, the fact that it rained on a tin roof today, anything. Like I got what I ordered at lunch.
Yeah, the little things that we kind of take for granted.
Yes. And more than kind of take for granted, honey. One of my friends is injured and has her thumb bound up. And I asked about the lessons that she had gotten in that. And she said, I have a deeper appreciation for people who don't have a thumb or have lost a digit or have lost a body part. So plenty to celebrate. to the degree that we can kind of stay awake here. Marcia?
I guess this is all what we've been talking about through the weeks have piled together a little bit with me on this one. It was so powerful, the notion and the feeling of everything is holy now. Every encounter, every experience, every little thing I see. And that last line, the unification of all that is, that's what I need to focus on. And what will that bring from me? A heck of a lot more compassion for myself and others and Mother Earth. Trump, I'm sorry, yes, everything is holy. Dear God.
Somebody sent a quote today from I believe he's a senator. I don't know too much about that arena. That happens to be a gay man senator. And the quote was along the lines of, if you have an issue with me, then be aware that your issue is not with me, that your issue is with your creator. What created me. And this, like this, I'm not maimed, I'm not dismembered, I'm not unimportant. In the eyes of Creator. In essence. And the last talk I just recorded for our SLC center there in Troy was entitled like moving in this direction, like this mysticism is guiding us to from existence to essence. And less identification with the persona, the wants, the needs, the successes, the whatever, the accomplishments, the achievements, into actual being. And how much doggone easier it is to be a nobody than to try to be a somebody. And made up about what being a somebody is, or what being a somebody's going to get us. Anybody else? Jeannie.
I agree with Anne and everyone who has spoken. And if I am accepting of this self, how am I going to be treating others in a much different way? Not thinking this is what they should be doing instead of this. Because I know people can feel energy. And when I go in with I'm going to change my grandchildren, that is, I'm not in command. So, and to know that no matter what the world tells you with all the commercials they show you about beauty, it has nothing to do with who you really are. It's your essence, how beautiful God sees us. And to remember that, wow. It is a celebration, and it's like smelling the magnolia tree that's blooming. I'll go back and stick my nose in that bloom, and it smells so good that it's like, oh man, this is so nice. All the small things, just like everyone said. Yes.
Yeah, that they're not so small anymore.
No.
And that we wouldn't take for granted, like the delight of that bloom, like that the, the, the senses, the gift of the senses.
Mm.
And how much that we deaden the senses. Like what's in front of us to see, touch, feel, smell,
Mhm.
with very little notice in some cases. Thank you all. Anybody else? I imagine this one, Ron, was especially close to you. Relationships across the veil.
Mhm.
So all of us here have been part of burying somebody
Mhm.
that we didn't really want to bury and wanted them to be around. And the loss of that. So think about as I read this one, maybe even a hand on your heart to acknowledge the heartstring that you have with somebody or some bodies that are across the veil. And to let the heart sense whatever it senses, feel whatever it feels as I read this one and these words. Relationships across the veil. The loss of a loved one shatters life.
Mm.
The loss of a loved one breaks the heart. The loss of a loved one crushes the spirit. But truth, purpose, and path hide in their passing. Truth, purpose, and path hide in their passing. One truth, past, present, and future, disappear in mystical consciousness. Your loved one's presence is continuous, often closer than even before. Only the physical form is gone. One truth, past, present, and future, disappear in mystical consciousness. Your loved one's presence is continuous and often closer than before. Only the physical form is gone. One purpose. Loss expands your spiritual reality. Loss expands your spiritual reality. Heaven and earth coexist. Heaven and earth coexist, separated only by thought and the dream you live. one truth, one purpose. Loss expands your spiritual reality. One path. Mystics view imagination as a medium of connection across the veil. This transcends all barriers. One truth. Past, present, and future disappear in mystical consciousness. Your loved one's presence is continuous, often closer than before. One purpose. Loss expands your spiritual reality. Heaven and earth coexist. One path. Mystics view imagination as a medium of connection across the veil, transcending all barriers. In mystical consciousness, sense your loved one's presence. Get a sense of your loved one's presence. Imagine conversing with them. And what would you say to each other? Stay involved in the relationship. God holds the door open. The relationship is not over. The relationship is not over. Stay involved in the relationship. Imagine conversing with them. What would each say to the other? Get a sense of your loved one's presence. Truth, purpose, and path are hidden in the passing. One truth. Your loved one's presence is continuous. One purpose. Loss expands your spiritual reality. one path. Connection across the veil transcends all barriers. What is your direct experience of this truth, these truths? All of them, any one of them? What is your direct experience of your relationships across the veil? Now, with me, with my father first, and then my baby brother, Randy, I was actually closer to them. It's like all the challenges of the physical were removed. All the stresses of the physical, the differences, the things that kept us boogered up in relationship was over. So as the physical form was gone, so was some of the stress. The trying to fix and cure and coach and teach and improve. And I love signs from them. And my dad's is not just a cardinal as a sign, but it's a cardinal that literally flies across the windshield area of the car, of the grill. And it delights me because I also hear his words with, and his name calling me, which was Leadfoot. You're a Leadfoot. You better quit being a Leadfoot. So I believe those birds are his reminding me, you're being a Leadfoot. Better not be a Leadfoot, as an example. And it never fails. Like, there's not a time, particularly when I'm down home. Like, and now with my brother, I've been going in and out with him for these surgeries and specialists and all that. And now I say it out loud. There's the cardinal, there's the cardinal, there's the cardinal, there's the cardinal. So it's not uncommon to see a dozen, like on our one little drive into this to this village where these doctors are. What's your experience of this? How do you feel as you consider this? Anybody? Jeannie?
I think this is very consoling and very hopeful. Never heard any of this in church. When my loved ones were buried, it was like, hope they made it, that kind of what I grew up with, hope they made it. And I have one auntie that I loved very much and was very close to, who passed when I was about 40. And I think of her a lot, and I can smell her sometime. She has a very clean smell, no perfume.
Mhm.
And I talk to her and listen, and I cry and I laugh. And but yes, she was just wonderful to me. So yes, I think it's very consoling. And thank you for discussing this. Very good. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome, honey. You've spoken about your aunt before, honey, so I feel like I got to meet her through you.
Oh, thank you. She
Yeah,
was wonderful. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Ron,
My dear wife, Lenore, passed away 10 weeks ago. And a couple of weeks ago, when I was especially struggling, because I miss her something terrible, and I heard her speaking mentally to me very clearly. We can each focus on gratitude for the many years we had together and for the great things that came out of it. And that has given me a lot of consolation in being at peace. And I have focused on that gratitude, and I feel a connection with her as a result.
thank you, Ron. And thank you, Lenore,
Yeah,
for staying our teacher, even across the veil. Yeah.
just last week, I looked out my window, the door wall, and here, just, 10 feet, no more than 15 feet from my patio, was this beautiful deer, a young doe that was standing there staring at me, and it didn't move. And I got up and walked to the door wall, and just looked at it for a minute. And I said to myself, Lenore, is that you connecting with me right there? And the deer just turned and gracefully walked through the flowers and toward the other side. Didn't run, just gracefully moved after about a minute or so. And I've thought about that so many times since.
So I believe our open-heartedness makes it possible for these visits, that we don't um deny them. Yeah. So keep it coming. Marcia.
Oh, through the years, I've had multiple touches, I guess, for lack of a better word. Many times I will smell my mom's perfume. Um, I will hear my dad speak my voice, just call my name out of nowhere. And my my husband has been gone a little over a year, and his favorite bird was the red-winged blackbird. Its song consoled him as a child when he was upset. And I hear that bird all the time now.
Mm.
I hear it. And this was really what you said about your dad and the physicality erasing everything that boogered up the relationship. Yeah, that is heartwarming. It's comforting and empowering to know that that relationship is so pure from that side now. No, I mean, mine probably is still, but being that truthful and compassionate and loving is really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you too, honey. Anybody else? So Verna, thank you, honey. She says her daddy comes in a butterfly and dragonflies. And on every walk I go, one or the other is there with me walking. So be it. So encouraging us to stay open to this and even new ways of this, of how they may come to us in new ways, even those of us that have our signs and symbols to stay awake and aware, open to yet more ever expanding ways for these relationships to deepen in us, to delight, to uplift, and to remind us that it is not over. And I remember like the most consoling words to me over the years in these losses have been, death cannot take you from me. Death will not take you from me. That's the truth. So, yes, change. Yes, no physical. Yes, I was attached to the physical. Yes, I wish it was here in the physical. And death will not take you from me. Death cannot take you from me. The truth. And for next week, if any of you have any meaningful special passages from the reading, if you're using the book, you want to send them to me, I'll lift them up like I have here tonight with some of the ones that Reverend Ron had identified that he had found a special meaning in, or a comfort or solace in. And I'll do the same with any of you if you want to send them in before next week. So the last piece for this session then I've chosen is, if you're reading the book, page 74, and it's the last one before chapter 4. So it's the last one in chapter 3. Healing the world in so many ways. In mystical consciousness, healing takes on so many forms, including discovering the power of I am God consciousness. Discovering the power of I am God consciousness. Living in the sacred symphony of flow, unveiling the divinity of self and creation, releasing the old self in God, reaching across the veil, realizing the value of failure, transcending thought, transcending story, transcending belief, transcending drama, doing the work you love, moving from loss to freedom, releasing the self contraction. sanctifying the world. Sharing mystical consciousness. Recognizing you are the problem and the solution. And experiencing God's light body to heal self and others. Finding all of this and more is mystical activism. Mystical activism. In this place, there is no time for boredom. I stand in awe of the countless gifts of divine realization. I stand in awe of the countless gifts of divine realization. No time for boredom. A sacred symphony of flow, unveiling the divinity of self and creation, the unification, releasing the old self and God, reaching across the veil, realizing the value of failure, transcending thought, transcending story, transcending belief, transcending drama, doing the work you love. Moving from loss to freedom, releasing the self-contraction, sanctifying the world, sharing mystical consciousness, realizing I am the problem and the solution, and experiencing God's light to heal all aspects of self and others. Mystical activism. So let's repeat then. I am God consciousness. 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 I am God conscious. I move from loss to freedom. I release self-contraction. I release my old self in God. I release my old self to God. I transcend thought. I transcend story. I transcend belief. I transcend drama. I experience God's light. I stand in awe of the countless gifts of divine realization. I stand in awe. I stand in awe of divine realization. I sanctify the world. I declare it holy. I sanctify the world. So be it. Reflections, experiences, anything you want to speak on this one? I actually looked up the word sanctify. To set apart or declare holy. To make holy. To consecrate. To make sacred. To bless. To approve. To purify. To unburden. To redeem. There's no place for boredom. Any comments here? Anything you want to open up discussion about or share an experience of? Marcia?
That one phrase of sanctifying the world, that is to what spoke to me. I'm changing my consciousness because the world is holy, created that way. It is perfect the way it is. It's my thoughts about it that are not in line with truth. So as I'm sanctifying the world, I'm telling myself, get with it. It is. It is.
It changes everything. What are you aware of? Like, what's any part of us afraid of? What would be the problem at sanctifying the world? Like everything we've made wrong isn't. Oh, the allure.
To do that, I have to blot out the opinions of other people, my own opinions and opinions of other people too, to rise above that.
Right, Ron. Our opinions of their opinions. Which keeps us bound in it. Anybody else? Okay. So let's have a little practice this week then. And you might use the words when somebody cuts you off in traffic. I sanctify you. I sanctify you. And when the doctor sets up doctor's appointments for me on the day I've told them I'm not available, I sanctify this. I bless this. I confer a blessing to this instead of, I confer a blessing to this. Just to see what may be possible when we put our end of the rope down. You know, and I've learned so much from Byron Katie over the years, you know. Remember back then I was like the bank of Martha Creek. Every time somebody needed money, it's like Martha, Martha, Martha. So I looked at what's causing some of that. And like, I've got to shift out of that. Like, I've left some impression with them. Of course, this was my fixing and rescuing and my helper gene and all that I got. And Byron Katie used to have a saying about, like, it's what you've taught them. They do in accordance with what you've taught them. So you taught them that that's who you are, that's what you'll do, that you're their source. So then it's natural, it's normal that they're turning to you as source because you've taught them that as your source. Versus the energy that I'm conveying to them, which is what I prefer to convey, which is, I'm not your source. You have a source and I'm not it. And they'll never realize they have a source if I continue to make myself the source of it. And it freed me a little bit to say, then what's better than me being your source is you finding the truth of your source. And even if it means I've got to watch you struggle, I've got to watch you wrestle with that. And how easy it sounds to do, and how not so easy it is to do at times. So it's not happened in a long time. Like the Bank of Martha Creek somehow got shifted over time. I'm rarely ever asked like that anymore. And just a week or so ago, I got asked. I'm going to stop the recording.